covers his NHL Prop with Jingles and Coco, where one of us was drafted 17th overall in the 2001 NHL entry draft, and the other one is me. I'm your co-host, Josh Ingles, betting analyst for Covers.com, joined by 14-year NHL veteran and NHL analyst Carlo Colaiacovo. What is up, Coco?
What's up, Jingles? What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us again. It's the start of a new week, baby. Let's rock and roll.
And we're rolling. We're coming off a weekend play that let my boys buy a couple rounds at the restaurant there. 15-10 plus 9.93 units. We are rolling and we're hitting plus money plays. But first play we're jumping on, not a plus money play, but a solid play nonetheless. Ottawa and the Islanders. Islanders minus 240 favorites here, total of 5.5, which is helping us with these point totals. Brock Nelson over 0.5 points, minus 130. Anders Lee has been a hot name of late, 9 goals over his last 11. But his centerman and PP1 linemate Brock Nelson also has 11 points over his last 11 games. The Islanders are out of the playoffs, but is playing great hockey of late with 11 of a possible 14 points in their last 7 games. Do the Islanders still have a lot to prove with a lost season, or are these guys trying to gear up for next year too?
It's a little bit of both, Jingles. Look, they're a very well-coached team with Barry Trotz behind the bench. He'll have these guys ready to play and motivated. But, you know, when you look at the New York Islanders, it's been a lost season right from the start. I mean, they started the season playing 13 straight road games while they were waiting for their new arena to get finished, and it just completely went off the rails. And as you can see, it's been a tough transition back. But, you know, this team, you would have thought there would be a direction that they would have committed themselves to after the trade deadline yesterday, being either buyers or sellers, or they were neither. They didn't buy anybody, they didn't sell anybody, which means that they still believe in the team that's intact. Just the fact that it's been a rough season. I mean, we're talking about a team that has gone to back-to-back conference finals. Most people predicted that they were going to have a better year than they're having. But in saying that, they still have a lot of pride to play for as a group. Most of the team will be intact throughout this season and through next season. And Brock Nelson is one of those core pieces. And Brock Nelson right now is trailing Matt Barzal in the team point total by 1 point. He's coming off a hat trick in his last home game. The Islanders are 5-7 in their last set, or 5-2 in their last 7 home games, and they've averaged 4 goals a game, where Brock Nelson has contributed to a lot of that offense. I think there's tremendous value here with Brock Nelson recording just a point tonight against an Ottawa Senators team that sold off almost all of their older players yesterday at the deadline. They bring in Hamonic on defense, which nobody could understand that move because, you know, he was a bottom pair guy in Vancouver, makes a ton of money. Now he comes into Ottawa. He wants to reconnect with his old coach, Chris Capuano, who's the defense coach in Ottawa. Maybe there's something there. But this is a team playing without their best defenseman in Thomas Chabot. They just traded Josh Brown, who's another part of their top 6. They're kind of, you know, re-identifying themselves with their patchwork defense right now. So a great opportunity for the Islanders to continue their hot goal streak at home, and another opportunity to have success against a reeling Ottawa Senators team.
And that leads me perfectly into the next point. I mean, the Sens have been sneaky defensively. I say that every time we talk about them. Anton Forsberg has been great, but like this is a team that just did a ton of selling. Batherson, Chabot on the sidelines right now. And Forsberg has been great, but he just got a couple sheets in his pocket, right? So he just got paid. He's allowed 13 goals over his last 4 games. So there is a bit of regression coming with Anton Forsberg. He's not going to play at that level all season long. How much does the trade deadline take the wind out of Sens sails here? And what does it do to the locker room when they look around and they're missing some vocal pieces and some very important skill players?
Well, it could deflate you for sure, especially when, you know, you've had guys there all year round. The next thing you know, they're being replaced, and you've got to, you know, welcome in new faces, new voices into the lineup. The same could be said about the Islanders too, where, you know, you've gone past the deadline, everybody's still here, and that breath of fresh air and that monkey off everybody's back, you know, about wondering what if is completely eliminated. So you play a little bit more freely. you play a little bit more confident because you're allowing the outside distractions to be eliminated. But let's be honest, this Ottawa Senators team has been a disaster all year, a team that had higher expectations coming into this season, but it's been their defense that has let them down. They've gotten a little bit of stability in that from Forsberg, and good on him for getting that contract extension because his play lately has allowed him to at least secure that. But like you said, you could see some regression here based on the deadline going by. He's a guy that a lot of people thought would get traded, doesn't get traded, actually gets some security in that sense. So you wonder if there's a little bit of a letdown here for him, wondering, okay, I've got past through this, I've set myself up, now I can finally breathe and relax. And it also doesn't help that in front of him, he's not seeing the same players that were there before tonight.
Yeah, so great matchup for the Islanders here. As our great producers hopefully bring back up that Covers' odds prop page that is becoming one of my favorite things to go to. It's just giving you boom immediately. There's your 4 best prices. Here's every market. Here's every player. Mm-hmm. It's actually a really difficult thing to jump from book to book to find out whose prices are, because some books have different prices. Some books don't have all these listings, but boom, everything's right there. It's really handy, and it really makes handicapping so much easier. Right. And it really helped in this game because we were talking about Anders Lee, but then we're jumping at looking at prices and stuff, and things like Brock Nelson over 0.5 points at minus 130 stands out. The thing that really stands out for me, he's been getting more shots of late, over 3 per game with a median of 3 in his last 7 games. He's been held to under 2 shots just once over that stretch, which shows us consistency in which he's shooting. And Anders Lee has 0 shots over his last 2 games. So that goal stretch might have.
But I tell you what, the one thing Brock Nelson is more focused on, he sees an opportunity here where he could lead the team in scoring at the end of the season. So you have to think that there's that extra motivation for him to stay hot on the score sheet because he's only 1 point behind Barzal.
Does that pad your pocket in any way?
Well, you wish it would. I mean, you wish the NHL would adopt, a bonus system so that you can get some players to play a little bit more motivated. I know in when I played in Europe, there was a bonus structure in my contract with points, with goals, with team success. So those are a little extra incentives you always wanted to reach. But I highly doubt that he has anything in the contract. It's more of a personal pride thing and something to sort of gloat about throughout the rest of your career, at least for the end of this season. Maybe there's a fun little bet going on between him and Barzal.
Absolutely.
As who's going to buy dinner if depending on who finishes the season in most points. But it's hard to think that, a team like the Islanders, their highest scoring guy only has 40 points. But like I said, it's been a rough stretch through the season. They've had injuries. They've gone through COVID situations. They haven't really found a way to get into a rhythm, and they've played a lot of road games. The fact that they're at home, like I mentioned earlier, they found a nice stretch of success here playing in their new building. I expect no different for that I expect that to continue on into tonight.
And then I was looking at his anytime goal prop, and that's at plus 145, which is not a great price for a game that has a total of 5.5. So I have no problem jumping over to the points and swallowing a little bit of juice here at the minus 130. So Brock Nelson, hot. That line's been hot with Anthony Beauvillier. We're going to jump on that today, and that's our first play. Then we're jumping over here, Philly at Detroit. Detroit actually a home favorite here, minus 140, which shows you some of the trades that happened with Philly and where that's leading to. Total of 6, and we're looking at a Kevin Hayes anytime goal here at plus 270. This is a fantastic price for a guy who just scored 2 goals last night and has adopted the number 1 role in that Philly offense. The dust has settled from the trade deadline, and with that comes opportunities for skaters and us as bettors to take advantage of. And with one of those being the void that Claude Giroux, like I said, has left since moving to Florida. What does this mean to other players who bump up in the lineup, especially taking over the number 1 center role as Kevin Hayes has here?
Well, you said it best, Jingles. It's opportunity, right? The trade deadline either provides you new opportunity with a new team or new opportunity within the team that you're on. And for Kevin Hayes, you couldn't ask for a better opportunity here. With Claude Giroux moving on, he is the number 1 center right now, filling in that void with the ice time, with the offensive situations. But more importantly, number one power play situations, filling in for Claude Giroux. So he's going to be getting more ice time, getting more offensive opportunities, and the opportunity not just for him, it's opportunity for other guys too, to move up into the lineup and even inject some youth that might bring a little bit more energy into the lineup that'll give you or present you in higher scoring games, for those opportunities to come. But look, this is a bad game. It's Detroit versus Philadelphia. Like, these teams got nothing to play for, which means there could be more opportunity for offense here. Teams that mostly that don't have much to play for are looking towards next year, and they're looking towards growth within their lineup with the players that they have. They're going to be given more opportunities to younger players, to other players that maybe didn't get those same opportunities this year. And Kevin Hayes is a perfect example of that. They need, if in a game, there's going to be offense. And if you need offense, you're going to look to your best players. And Kevin Hayes is definitely one of Philadelphia's best players. And this is tremendous value you're finding right now in a guy that's getting, more opportunity to play.
Yeah. A wise man once said, the best opportunity is availability.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where he is here. So we saw his minutes go from like 16 and a half minutes per game to up to 23 minutes in the two games that Giroux has missed recently. And I really liked your point of the fact that the trade deadline has a double-edged sword for the guys who are still on the team for sellers, because as you were dealing with everything yesterday, the process of telling these guys they're being traded is not an exact science at this point.
Right.
So, and how long Claude Giroux had been out of that lineup and they were projecting something, these Philly players have been gone through it for quite some time. So we see Hayes' minutes up 21, 20 seconds in the games where Giroux was out. He scored both his team's goals last night in a 2-1 win over the Islanders, including one on the PP, taking over the role of Giroux, who was a captain. Does this have even a bigger role than most guys filling in for another traded guy? And with a guy like Kevin Hayes, who's gone through so much this year with injuries and the tragic loss of his brother, Jimmy, is this a very meaningful time for Kevin Hayes in his hockey career?
Yeah, I think it is too, because like you just mentioned, right? He hasn't played much this year. So with probably 20 games left for the Flyers, you want to find some sort of rhythm. You want to try to get something out of this year to start, building momentum into the offseason and even into next season. So for Kevin Hayes, this is a team that Philadelphia is going through a transition. Does he put himself in a position where in the offseason the team is looking at him to stay the number one center because he's shown, given the opportunity, he can provide the same production? So there's a lot to play for in his mind. To salvage a season that has been, lost, and it's unfortunate some of the circumstances he's had to deal with, especially the death of his brother. But that could provide some more inspiration for him too, right? Playing on behalf of his brother and allowing this season, however it plays out, to sort of help him heal, right? With the way that he can finish. So aside from that, he's a hockey player at heart. And, he knows that as a professional, you've got to still show up and play. And sometimes these are the hardest situations to play in, when you're on a team and you got nothing to play for, but really what you have to play for is pride, right? And if the Philadelphia Flyers have shown any pride in, what's transpired this year, they lose the face of their franchise, they lose the captain, they lose their best player in Claude Giroux. Well, now this organization is trending into direction. It's like, okay, who wants to be part of this moving forward? Yeah. And so Kevin Hayes is, at plus 270 to score a goal, it's a nice one that you found here when it comes to value.
Yeah, and more than anything, playing with confidence, right? Like in baseball, like hitting is contagious, scoring is contagious too. When you have confidence, it makes your game that much better. And facing Detroit Red Wings team, who's still allowing 5.00 goals against over the last 30 days, also helps. So you're getting the number one center, the number one power play guy, versus a team that has allowed more goals than anybody else over the last 30 days at plus 270. That's nuts. We were looking at his point price at minus 120, but as we looked at that Brock Nelson, the difference between minus 120 for a point and Brock Nelson was paying plus 145 for a point, here we're getting an extra 135 points. It doesn't make any sense. It's a great line. He's getting big minutes, the opportunities there, and give us Kevin Hayes to keep scoring here with his confidence at plus 270. Jumping over to the late game, Nashville at the Kings. Kings minus 125, total of 6. Matt Duchene over 0.5 assists, plus 150. And
this right?
This is another
right?
find.
This must be a mistake.
Yeah, go to that covers prop thing. It's there. Like you just jump at it. And it's not this price at other books in some places as we bring it up there. FanDuel.
This is amazing.
DraftKings. Yeah, Caesars at plus 150. So Roman Josi obviously leads the back end, leads the league in points over the last month. He's just been incredible. And he's paid minus 150 to get an assist. But Duchene has 9 helpers over his last 8 games and 16 total points over those last 8 games. And he's recorded an assist in 9 straight games. John Hine is leaning on this top line, the Forsberg, Johansson, Duchene line that had 10 total points last night. Like, they are hot. We saw them Saturday in the Leaf game. What did you take away from this top line in Nashville Saturday night against the Leafs?
Well, you said it best, Jingles. They're hot. And what do you do when guys are hot? You ride them. And Matt Duchene, remember, this guy going into the season was a cast-off. Like, Nashville was ready to write him and Johansson off because their contracts just weren't meeting the same expectation when it came to production. Well, credit to Matt Duchene because he's easily a candidate for comeback player of the year, having a career year by a landslide. I mean, he's got 66 points right now in 59 games, and that is already 4 points behind his career high, which was his 5th year in the league in Colorado, where he had 70 points. He's easily going to eclipse that. This is the most goals he's scored in his career at 34 goals. And, sometimes they say the older you get into the game, the more wiser you get. Well, it's true. Maybe he's like a fine wine. He ages like it too, because he has found his game at age, I believe he's age 31 right now, and playing on a top line that is just finding the back of the net with ease right now. This Nashville team is one of the hottest teams in the league, riding a 7-3 record in the last 10. They've won 2 in a row. They've come off of a trade deadline where they've added some depth pieces around the group, so that gives them a little bit of extra boost too, because their GM is saying, well, look, you've done a great job this year. You've showed me that I should go out and improve this team. And improve this team, the best improvement they could potentially ask for has been an all-star level of play from Matt Duchene, Philip Forsberg, and Ryan Johansson, because these guys are making stuff happen every time they're on the ice. And when you've got a guy who's got 16 points in his last 8 games, and he's getting plus 50 on an assist value, I mean, it's just too good to pass up right now.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at how many years he's played in the league, because 31 years old. I if you would have told me he was 35 years old, I would have believed you.
Yeah.
No, 12 years in the league, 31 years old. Great season. And the cool thing about this Forsberg line is everybody can bury on the line.
Right.
Like they're really complimentary. They played nearly 12 minutes on 5-on-5, just 5-on-5 in their last game, which is quite a bit. And he led all forwards in ice time versus the Leafs in that Saturday game. He's riding a 10-game point streak with 20 points over those 10 games.
Unbelievable.
Faces a Kings team that's allowing nearly 3.0 goals per game this month. And their PK is at 69%, which is bottom 4 in the mark. And he's obviously on PP1. Preds are rolling, and they'll have David Rittich in net, which is big because, you know what I mean? You got to support that backup goalie. They're not going to shut things down and rely on Saros, so they're going to need the big boys to score.
And let's not forget, they're in a playoff race too, right? So these games mean something for Nashville. And, when you need a big win or you need a big effort, you got to lean on your best players. And right now, aside from Roman Josi, who's been hands down one of their best players, and, I can't believe we're talking about a defenseman leading a team in scoring. I mean, he's putting up crazy numbers, but Matt Duchene isn't too far behind. He's second on the team in points at 66. Roman Josi has 77. So these guys are finding a way to make it click, and tremendous value here.
So I said 20 points last 10 games, 10-game point streak. Do coaches know that these guys are riding point streaks or no?
No, I mean, I don't think the coaches pay attention to stats. I mean, even as a player, I never paid attention to those stats unless it was my own, right? If I knew I had a streak going, I knew I was pushing myself to keep it going. But what you're really paying attention to, I mean, it's pretty obvious when you know the one line or the one player team is consistently in the huddle and riding the train along the benches, giving knuckles to guys. You know that things are rolling well for the guys. So unless you're really paying attention to that stuff, you're not really aware of it. I would imagine Matt Duchene is really aware of it. Anybody is pretty aware of their own individual stats. But when it comes to coaches and stuff, they recognize just when guys are rolling. They recognize when guys are feeling it, and they try to continue to put those guys in the same position for the best interest of the team, not the best interest of the individual, for the best interest of the team. Now, if it's something that's made completely public, like, hey, he's one goal away from getting his 400th or whatever it is, and you got an empty net opportunity, yeah, you know what? Your coach is being told that either from a player or from one of the assistant coaches, and yeah, you try to put him out there. But I don't think coaches really care less or could care about point streaks that guys are on. They just more worried about the team playing well and the team success that comes from them playing well.
And the boys were doing laps beside the bench last night. 5 total goals from that line, 10 total combined points. Yossi, like I said, Yossi minus 150 for an assist, but Duchene at plus 150. That is a huge discrepancy at 100 points.
They played a power play together too, right?
Yeah, like that's a huge discrepancy for guys that probably have same opportunities, puck times, the ability to score and get on the score sheet. 100 points is way too much. Philip Forsberg, 8 goals over his last 7 games. With the late game, this is hopefully a wake and rake for the boys here with Duchene over 0.5 assists at plus 150 at Caesar. So a couple gems, and we're trying to keep this money train rolling, but that will do it for us. Covers this puck drop today. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Let us know what you're thinking in the comments. He's Coco. I'm Jingles. This is Covers. Lead us out, Coco.
Start of a new week. Keep this money train going.